Welcome in, everybody, to episode 9 of Destination Dynasty. I'm your host, Matt Heckman, joined tonight by Martin Sokolsky. Martin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Happy All-Star Week. It's a nice little break for everyone, I think, involved in the process, getting to sit back for a couple days and not have to work on as much content and just being able to take a breather. So hopefully the All-Star break is going well for you as well. So.
Yeah, would have been better if Kyle Schwarber pulled out the home run derby last night. But yeah, the All-Star break is always a nice chance to reset a little bit. Take a couple days off from real baseball, a couple days off from paying attention to setting lineups for X number of fantasy leagues, however many. How many leagues are you in at this point?
I don't even know. I'd have to count. It's
Two.
more redraft than Dynasty. I think it's like I've cut down quite a bit. I think I'm at like 13 total. So
13. I'm at like 6, I think.
It's a combination though of redraft and Dynasty, and a lot of them are drafted hold. So I'm just setting lineups.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But
no,
the theater in that home run derby last night was beautiful, with Contreras playing the heel as per usual, and then Schwarber and the crowd. It was
the crowd was into it. The crowd was into it.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
It was a lot of fun. I've never heard people cheer for outs in the home run. I've never heard people cheer like that in a home run derby. Usually everybody's just amazed at the home runs, but getting a real game atmosphere like that was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Contreras loves to play the villain, so it worked out perfect.
I thought it was interesting how he was really playing up the villain. I've seen a couple of rumors that the Phillies might be interested in adding him at the trade deadline if they want to move Harper back out to the outfield, add Contreras. And I was like, that would be a pretty cool storyline. He's playing the villain all home run derby, going at it with the fans, and then he's playing in that ballpark a couple weeks later.
Right.
I don't know. That'll be interesting. So just you and me again tonight. Unfortunately, Jacob had to bail on us. He's dealing with sick kids at home. So we're wishing Jacob the best and his kids the best as we get to talk about baseball tonight instead. So the MLB Draft was this past weekend. No surprises, even though there was some rumors that we were going to get a surprise at the top of the board. But the White Sox decided to just stick with Roch at number 1 overall. Martin, do you think that was the right choice? Do you think Cholowski was the bona fide 101, or do you think they should have gone for a prep bat?
So in my FYPD rankings, I actually have Emerson ahead of Cholowski, but in my prospect rankings, I will have Cholowski higher based on proximity. I'm pretty confident he'll be in the major leagues at some point next year. I think as far as safety goes, I don't think there's a player that's been deemed safer in the last decade than Cholowski. So we'll just see how it all translates. But everything that I've read, everything I've seen, he seems like he's just a really solid baseball player. And I think the White Sox got it right, even though they could have gone, taking the high road with taking the prep bat and trying not to complicate things. But now they've got some decisions to make. We've got our guy, Caleb Bonham, there. We've got Colson Montgomery. We've got Vargas. We've got Cholowski. It's going to get crowded in that infield. So.
It will. I feel like you can never have too much talent, though. Injuries happen. Second base is always an option for somebody. I don't know. Murakami's only on a 2-year deal. I figure if he keeps up, right, 2 years, I think it is.
2 year
I don't think
deal.
it was 3.
Yeah. He said he wants to sign long term, though, so we'll see.
We'll see. Everybody, I think, wants to say that, but then are the White Sox going to pay him what he's going to want to be paid after, assuming he keeps up this pace? Right? I don't know. Along with the MLB Draft, though, the All-Star Game is tonight. We're recording on Tuesday, July 14th. So I feel like a lot of the dialogue this week, and maybe it's just been on my timeline and my feed, a lot has been about Zack Wheeler. Really cannot believe that he was not selected into the All-Star Game. And I know some people were complaining that he started the year on the IL, but he missed 2 weeks. It's no different than a mid-season IL stint. He has, 5 less innings pitched than the American League starter, Dylan Cease. And I don't blame him for basically giving the MLB the middle finger after they tried to give him a pity invite. And he said, no, I don't want that. I mean, how crazy is that? Top 5 in ERA. He's 3rd in ERA in all of baseball. And he didn't make the All-Star Game. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's a whole thing, right? So like Vladdy Guerrero got voted in, basically said I'm not going because I suck, which is not not wrong.
Stand on your principle, I
Right.
guess.
But like if you're gonna dock Wheeler for being on the IL, then why are you still allowing Judge and Acuna and
Yeah.
Trout to be voted in as starters? And so I think that the process itself is flawed. I think they're giving too much to the fans, and that's fine. I think that the weight should be weighted is what I would do. I would do like 40% fans, 30% front office, 30% players, and just let it all play out. And then at the end, give yourself a little leeway and then let the fans vote on who's actually going to start the game, not who's deserving to be there.
Yeah. I think the fans having more of a vote on who starts is a great idea. It's weird though. Why are pitchers not a part of the fan vote at all? That doesn't make any sense to me. At least put up like if you don't want to. There are a lot of pitchers in baseball. I get it, but like put up the top like 30. Pick one from each team maybe, and I guess Wheeler wouldn't have gotten voted in either way for that because it would have been Sanchez probably. But like, why is there no fan vote for pitchers? Like, if you're going to do a fan vote, do a fan vote for everybody. And then the league and players didn't pick Wheeler, and that just doesn't make. But then all the players seemingly said I wanted Wheeler. There's a lot of issues with that. I feel like it puts a sour taste. Last year, Sanchez not getting the invite. I don't know. I feel like I've had a lot of sour taste in my mouth with the All-Star game recently. Even though Sanchez is starting tonight, Schwarber and Harper were in the home run derby, so I guess I don't have that much to complain about as a
Yeah.
Phillies fan. But
I think the interesting thing would be just let some of us fantasy dorks have a big fantasy draft and just let the teams play out that way. So
yeah,
it'll
I
be fun.
I think if you want to find the true baseball lovers, I think that's the way to do it because truthfully, like Alec Boehm didn't deserve to be a finalist for National League All-Star voting. Like, what are we doing here? And I don't think anybody in the fantasy baseball industry would have put Alec Boehm in, but the fans and the cities, you always have bigger markets get a little bit of a boost compared to smaller markets. Like it's just a flawed, like you said, it's a flawed system. Hopefully baseball can figure that out at some point. I don't know what the best solution is, but I like the fans. I like the fans voting for the All Star starters. I think that'd be a great idea. All right, back to real baseball talk here. Cole Ragans, Tommy John surgery again, right? Or was it just a UCL surgery? I think it was a Tommy John surgery
Yeah, so
again.
this one's Tommy John for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, third time. I mean, he wasn't really anything. Then he burst onto the scene following the trade to Texas. The numbers were down a little bit this year. The walk rate kind of spiked back up, which he had issues with in the past. Now he's not going to pitch this year. Odds are he probably misses next year. So he's 30 by the time he gets back on the mound. He only threw 61 innings last year. He's not built up until he's 31. I mean, talk about a dynasty value that is tanked at this point. What's your recommendation to dynasty managers on what they should do with Cole Ragans?
Yeah, I'm actually lumping Ragans and Strider in the same boat because I think Strider's headed for the knife as well. If he hasn't already had it, I can't remember what his status is, but they're both on their third go round with Dr. Meister and Dr. Riatachi, and it's not going well. So I think at this point, I mean, I've dropped them both considerably in my rankings. I've got them just inside my top 300 overall, and then just inside my top 90 at starting pitcher. I just don't trust the elbows. I think their values are completely in the tank. I have in my notes here that if you can find someone that'll still be willing to pay for them and get you like 50 cents on the dollar, take it and run. Like Usain Bolt out of there, like take it and go. Because I don't know that we'll ever see these guys again. I don't know that we'll ever see Ragans again at this point. Like three UCL reconstructions. Guys don't do
That's
it.
a thing.
So,
No,
yeah.
he's not. And when he came back from his second one, when he really burst onto the scene, I mean, he was 23 or 25, 24. Like he was young when he was building his way back. And now by the time he's fully built back up, he's 31. What does his arm look like at 31? I mean, that's a big change because he's not going to come back and throw 186 innings. He's only topped 96 innings one time in his major league career. I mean, I would be trading him, like you said, I take a dime on the dollar, I think, at this point, because you're just going to have so long to wait, and the value's not going to go up in the next year. It's going to go down further until he starts throwing again. And you have to hope the metrics look good, because now we have metrics on everything. You can't just base it on the hype of him coming back if he pitches in spring training or something. Like you're going to see, is that fastball right? are the breaking pitches, do they have enough velocity? Are they getting whiffs? Like all these different things that the value could ultimately just go lower when he comes back. So
Yeah.
I don't
And if
know.
you're in a keeper league with Ragans and you have a limited amount of keepers or Otno or you're, paying salaries
Mhm.
and things like that, cut as fast as you
Yeah.
can. You cannot carry him over year to year because he's not coming back next year. And if he is, it's going to be very late in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Get that salary and not know.
No.
All right. For those who have been following along with our Destination Dynasty, well, first, we appreciate you listening to us as we rant about baseball and argue about prospects over here. We've been doing positional previews. So we started with first base, then we did middle infield. We threw in third base. We went to the outfield in our last episode. And now we're going to go to catcher. Catcher is an extremely difficult position to even talk about, I think, for Dynasty because it's very league dependent. Right? If you play in a shallow league, 10 teams, one catcher, even 12 teams, one catcher. It seems like there are a lot of different options out there. I mean, in the one redraft league, I'm only in one redraft league, and Adley had gone on the IL, and then I picked up Gabby Moreno, and it was like Moreno is a perfectly fine substitute.
Mhm.
Heck, I debated when Adley came back who I wanted to keep at that point because there is enough depth at the position to where you can get by with not an elite catcher. I think it becomes an issue in two catcher leagues then if you're 20 to 24 catchers, 26, 28 catchers are rostered, that it becomes a really big issue because the fall off is steep. I mean, Martin and I are going to discuss some of our dynasty rankings here coming up. And when I was going through mine, I don't know how you felt, Martin, but it was like I got to like 15. I'm like, okay, this position's actually doing pretty good. And then by the time I got to 20, I was like, oh gosh, this is disgusting. Like, do I
Yeah.
really want to even keep ranking them? So I think there's a lot to be excited about with Drake Baldwin and Samuel Basallo, if I can say his name right. Which one of those, if in a vacuum, do you think are you excited about both of them? What have you liked so far from them in their major league careers?
Yeah, I think we're still kind of waiting to see what Basallo is going to become. I think he's kind of done some things that you're like, okay, this is legit. And then there's other times when he just kind of like looks lost, which he should be. He's still young. Baldwin has just been incredible. Like everything that this guy does just turns to gold. He hits the ball hard. He hits for contact. He hits for, he's hitting for average. He's hitting the ball all over the place. I mean, he plays with, he's just got that it factor for a catcher. And he's a guy that I've gone back and forth on. I've still got Cal Raleigh #1, which spoiler alert. But Baldwin's a guy that he's got a legitimate case to be catcher one in Dynasty, and he probably should be, honestly. Um, but they're both excellent players. I think that them joining the position over the last couple of years has really deepened the class at catcher, along with some other guys as well. We'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, I think that of the two, I still like Baldwin the most just because he gives you a little bit of everything. I think there's a higher floor there. And I'm not sure when we'll see Basallo's ceiling. I still think we're a couple years away from seeing that ceiling. I think he's going to be a 40 home run bat at some point or close to it. But what kind of average is he going to get you, and how's that all going to play out? So,
Yeah, I mean, to say we are still years away from his ceiling. He's already hit 16 home runs this year, so he's on a probably 30 home run, close to at least a 30 home run pace already this season, and there's still plenty to come. Martin, you brought up Cal Raleigh, and I'm going to divert a little bit from our script here because I think we need to talk about Raleigh. I mean, he got off to a terrible start this season after the historic year he had last year. It almost felt like the IL stint was a blessing in disguise at the time because, okay, maybe he's not right. This will give him a chance to regroup, get together, rest a little bit, get off his feet, hopefully come back better. In 99 plate appearances since he came back, he's slashing 185, 323, 296. Really, the only thing that you like is the walk rate. He's only got 9 home runs this year, batting 169. I think you mentioned you have Raleigh ahead. I have Drake Baldwin ahead, as we mentioned. I think how much are you considering last season to just be an outlier? And should dynasty managers be trying to capitalize on that name value before it completely disappears from last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously last season is definitely an outlier. There was no chance that Raleigh was going to be able to duplicate what he did last year. That was just completely absurd how incredible he was last year. I think that with Raleigh, we kind of know what he is, and he kind of showed that down the stretch last year. That batting average really started to dip because the contact skills really aren't that great, but the power is just so elite. And at that position, and he runs a little bit too. And so at that position, being able to get elite power with some stolen base production, and plus the way that he was driving in runs and scoring runs last year, which obviously all that was going to regress a little bit. But even still, before that, he was still arguably catcher one in fantasy or close to it. So I don't necessarily regret that I've got him at one, but if you're a dynasty owner and you've got the chance to trade, Raleigh for, say you can pick up like a Gabby Moreno and like a nice, corner infielder or a decent, mid-tier SP2 or something like that in exchange for Raleigh, I think you have to make that trade because I think your the ceiling that he established last year is such an outlier and such an anomaly that it's just not going to happen. He's still going to be a guy that's probably going to hit you 35 home runs a year. Batting average is going to be in the tank most likely. He's going to contribute, some steals here and there with some batting average, issues. But I mean, it's just like I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with Raleigh. I think he's okay. I think he's going to be okay in time. I think there was so much excitement over what he was doing, and there's no way he could possibly replicate that. And I think he's feeling the crunch on that right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think his true outcome is not what he's done this season.
Yeah,
I think he's fatigued for sure. I think he's battling some injury
yeah,
there, but also I don't think you can count on him to be a fantasy difference maker, if that makes sense. Like somebody who's going to win you a league like he won leagues last year. I don't think that's who he truly is, or that should be the expected outcome. It's in the range of possibilities. He did it last year, but that shouldn't be the expected outcome. So I think I'm with you. If you can get somebody who can help you this year, especially if you're contending, I mean, Raleigh, like this year almost feels like a lost year. And so if you're in Dynasty, as difficult as it is to trade away an asset who has league winning potential, I think if you can get somebody who can be a little bit more reliable for you in that catcher slot, and then plus, like Martin suggested, I think that's an idea. I, a name that just popped into my head is Dylan Dingler. You mentioned Moreno. I like Moreno too. Um, Dylan Dingler, like, I think that would be a great you're getting that power that you because I feel like if you were building a team with Cal Raleigh, you always knew the batting average was gonna regress, but you were really counting on the power. And Dingler's shown that he's got plenty of power this year. And so I think that's like a perfect person to go get, like, fill that power spot in your lineup and add a little bit on top of that for the future. I think that would be just home run move for you.
yeah.
So all right, we're now going to get into some major league risers. The first person on our list is, and it's an interesting name because I kind of do want to dive in. There's a little bit of discrepancy in our rankings here. Hunter Goodman. Nobody really knew what to do with Goodman going into last season. It was like he's got the great power. Can he hit it all? Rockies players never seem to be able to hit. And he just proved that that power was really all you need. And people were still skeptical, myself for sure included. It's evident in my dynasty rankings. We're skeptical going into this season. We knew the average was going to say 278, but he's already hit 27 home runs on pace to crush that career number of 31 that he hit last year. Martin, what have you seen from Hunter Goodman that has you buying in and should have Dynasty Manager so excited?
I mean, I have in my notes too that I was also skeptical last year. I mean, if you look at the contact skills, they weren't they weren't great at all. His approach is highly aggressive. He swings like over 50% of the time with a ton of chase, and the contact skills just weren't there to support that. He had the inflated BABIP. It was like 337 last year, which is it's above the major league average, but at the same time in Coors, it's actually pretty decent for Coors Field. It's not something that's egregious.
Yeah.
But the quality of contact was really good when he was making contact. Um, we knew that the batting averages were going to regress this year as well. Obviously, the contact skills just don't support that. Even with the BABIP, which he's still right at league average. I think he's at 303 right now. That batting average is starting to fall. I think right now we're just seeing a lot of power. We're seeing some steals, which is nice too. He's got 5 steals. The batting average, I think, if he can hang in the 250 range, which is where he's at now, I think that's outstanding. And I mean, we know how Colorado's going to play. We know that when he's at home, he's going to do a lot of damage. I haven't looked at his home road splits, but I'm
I
sure,
was just pulling that up.
yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure there's quite a bit of difference. But I mean, again, like we talked about with Raleigh, if you're getting elite power with production in a couple other categories, that's a difference maker at catcher. It may not be a league winner, but it's easily a top 5 guy. I've got him ranked 4 in my rankings, and I'm good with that. I think that with his age and his skill set, I think he's a guy that could withstand the next 4 or 5 seasons as a top output kind of guy at that position. And I think playing in Colorado certainly helps. So now, that said, if he does leave Colorado, because they don't want to be a serious baseball team, I think the power still translates everywhere else, right? And I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. We could see a continued regression in the batting average because he's already striking out over 30% of the time now. But still, I think that the profile is pretty solid for the position, and gives you the stats that you're looking for out of that position. I think Goodman's a pretty solid fantasy play.
So I pulled up his home road splits and I was looking at his splits as you were bringing that up. And I pull up his page and I look at it and it's like, oh, one is way better than the other. I'm like, exactly. This makes so much sense. And then I was scrolling, I was about to say that, and you kept talking, which thank goodness you did. I didn't put my foot
I
in my
always keep talking.
mouth. Thank goodness you did. It's opposite of what you would think. He's hitting 223 with 9 home runs at home. He's hitting 282 with 18 home runs on the road.
It's just weird.
He is significantly better on the road as opposed to home. 157 WRC plus, 282, 345, 619 on the road, 223, 301, 446 with a 76 WRC plus at home. I I feel like my issue with Goodman, and like I said, we're gonna get into him a little later. We'll throw him up now. I have Goodman ranked ninth, and I think part of that's just a fear factor. Like I am just so afraid that that floor is going to drop out that, and maybe that's just a personal bias on players that I like, archetypes that I tend to avoid, which can get me in trouble sometimes because they're too volatile in my mind. But I see the fifth percentile chase rate and the seventh percentile whiff rate, and I'm just like, he should be like, this should be something pitchers can exploit so easily. And I mean, he's got 27 homers this year. So like, should he be ranked ninth on my list? Probably not. I mean, that's different. That's game changing power at the catcher slot, especially in two catcher leagues. Like, that is such a difference maker. But I am just terrified that that floor is going to fall out.
Right. No, I'm right there with you. I completely agree. I mean, when you look at the guys that I've got around him, I got Bengaliers right behind him with Willie Contreras, and then Herrera, and then Rainiel Rodriguez. I think the floor on all those guys is a lot higher than Goodman, but I think the ceiling for Goodman, other than Langoliers, I think the ceiling is considerably higher for him than for those other guys. So
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, the ceiling is he's on pace for nearly 60 home runs this year, and we just talked about how historic it was for Raleigh to do that last season. Another major league riser has been Ivan Herrera for the St. Louis Cardinals, a guy who didn't even have catcher eligibility in a lot of leagues going into this season. I know in my one Dynasty league, I acquired him and I had to play him at util for the first month and a half, and it was such a difference. My lineup looked so different once I was finally able to slot him into my second catcher spot. Don't know if he'll stick there long term. Cardinals seem to have a lot of catching prospects, but also at the same time, he's going to have eligibility next season. He's been phenomenal for the Cardinals this year. but he has cooled off a little bit. It actually came up in the pitcher list Dynasty Discord or pitcher list just Discord. Is Ivan Herrera okay? Is he hurt? I mean, you look at his rolling process plus his rolling power, everything is really tapering off. 183 with one homer since June 22nd. I mean, Martin, maybe this All Star break just came at a good time. Maybe he just needed a little bit of a break and a chance to get back out there in the second half.
Yeah, I was really excited about my notes about Herrera, and then somebody posted that in the Discord, and I just curled up in the fetal position and cried. I've got Herrera in a couple places, and he's been really serviceable for me. I think he's hitting 250 this year. He's got 11 home runs and 100 combined runs at RBI, and he's stealing some bases too, which is nice. But I mean, I feel like, yeah, I think maybe the break is needed. Maybe he's just in a one of those funks, which happens. He is a streaky player. He was pretty streaky last year as well. If you remember, he was super hot early in the year, and then he obviously had some injury, mixed in there as well. But he's still quite streaky. But when you dig in and see some things like he's making some gains against breaking pitches and off speed pitches, his whiff rate's down by 5% against each of those. The contact rates and the play discipline is really good. He's got career highs and walk rate at 12%, career low strikeout rate at 16%. So I think that he's trending in the right direction. Obviously, look at the rolling chart on PL Pro, which I highly recommend everybody subscribes to. Would paint a different picture right now for Herrera, but I think he's going to be okay unless there's an injury we just don't know about, which would make all of this make sense. But based on what I've seen from his process and the way that he's doing things, I think he looks like a pretty solid fantasy asset and a guy that I've got ranked inside my top 10. I got to see exactly where he's at. I think he's 7. So yeah, but I guess the biggest concern I would have with Herrera is what happens next, because we've got Reniel Rodriguez is now climbing the ranks. Jimmy Crooks is up there and flirting with the majors, and Leo Burnell, and they've got a lot of viable bats at that position. And he's a guy that, while he is a plus offensively, he's not a plus defensively, and that's known. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I think that for now, I've got quite a few shares of Herrera in my dynasty, and I'm happy with what he's doing. But that could be a position I look to move off of at the end of the year if I feel like he's going to be playing elsewhere, because I don't know how it's all going to play out for him.
Yeah, I think you have to look at your dynasty team and figure out what window you're in and go from there. I mean, he's going to, like I said, he'll have it for the rest of this year. He'll have catcher eligibility next year. I do think there's a chance he reaches it for at least one more year after that. And so, I mean, I feel like if you're in a 3-year window, if you're in a deep rebuild, then it looks a little bit different. I think it's interesting to bring up he's never played in more than 107 games. He's already played in 95 this year. So I do think it could be injury, or it could just be a little bit of fatigue setting in. You have durability concern and you have fatigue. So hopefully Herrera gets a chance to rest a little bit during this All-Star break and come back out and make a difference for your dynasty teams in the second half. Moving on to some players that are not making differences for your dynasty teams. A couple of big disappointments here. Logan O'Hoppe, talk about hindsight in that trade. It looked like for a while the Angels were going to win the Hoppy trade with the Phillies for Brandon Marsh, and now that has completely turned on its head. Hoppy came out of the gate swinging in 2023. The power looked really good. It looked like a hit tool that could continue developing, and it has just gone straight downhill since then. I mean, if you're roster Hoppy, is he a cut candidate at this point?
Yeah, he's a guy that I can't see rostering as a C1 in your league unless you're in one of those deep 24 or 30 team leagues. I'm in a 30 team league. That's a one catcher, and obviously he's rostered in that, but he's a guy that is really fringe. It's almost like you'd rather play someone like a Hunter Fiducia who's playing 3 days a week and is hitting 250 or 260 than try to play O'Hoppe, because he's just been terrible. I mean, outside of the home run production his first couple of years, even the rest of it was bad. Like in 119 games last year, 78 combined runs and RBI. Now, granted, the Angels aren't a great offense, but this is a guy that, I mean, with like 20 home runs last year, and he's got 78 runs and RBI. That's brutal. So I just I've got him as my catcher 21, and I think that's even being very generous, to be honest. Yeah, because he should probably be even lower. So, not a guy that I want any shares of at this point. It's all going downhill quickly.
Yeah, I don't even have him in my top 30 at this point. I mean, I don't think he's going to be the starter of their future. He's already going to be 27 next year if you chalk up this year to a lost season. 4 homers, 20 runs, 23 RBIs. That's just it's terrible, and he hasn't made any improvements. Another prospect, or former prospect, I should say, that hasn't made any improvements, and this one hurts me. I was a pretty loud advocate for Austin Wells for a while. I thought that pull side pop awareness, I mean, his pulled air rate is still very good. I thought that would really work in Yankee Stadium, and he has just been unable to hit anything except for a fastball. That's about all he can hit. Um, 155, 247, 258 slash. I mean, I do have Wells in my top 30. He's 27th, but so I
I do
guess
too.
I'm holding out hope for him a little bit more than Ohapi, but is he a cut candidate? Should dynasty managers have or is there any reason for optimism here, or is it just time to move on?
Yeah, the reason for optimism is that he can hit the ball to his pull side and he plays in Yankee Stadium and he's a left-handed hitter. That's about the only optimism I got. I mean, I didn't realize how bad he had been because I don't have any shares. I've never been a Wells guy, but he's got a 42 WRC plus. That's the second worst among catchers with 150 plate appearances, just a point ahead of Edgar Caro. And Edgar Caro has been just god awful. So I don't know. I mean, I know he's really good defensively. I know that they like what he does behind the plate. Uh, and obviously with Ben Rice kind of transitioning more and playing more likely going to play more first base than or than catcher, although he's DHing pretty much every day now. But I just the whole Wells thing is starting to wear. I think that he's got a lot of name value from coming up, as one of their top prospects for a long time. But at some point, that team needs to make some decisions about some guys that have been underperforming for a long time that they keep running it back with. And I think Wells is one of those guys that's going to be on the chopping block. I mean, look at the players they've traded away: Augustin Ramirez, and it's a kid from the Pirates, Rafael Flores. I mean, these guys could all potentially be major league catchers on their roster, and Wells could be elsewhere. So just one of those things. And I don't have any use for Wells in Dynasty at all, and he's honestly probably not even a guy I would want in redraft, to be honest with you. So
No, I don't think you're wrong there. I think trading away guys like Ramirez, Flores, Jesus Rodriguez, all three of those guys were in the Yankee system. I think that speaks a little
Carlos
bit at
Narvaez
least.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Narvaez is a little bit different, but the three other bats, it speaks to how much they value defensive value at the position. I don't think they viewed any of those other three could really stick behind the plate long term. That's my guess.
Yeah,
Anyway,
makes sense.
Verse Wells could. I will say if you're holding him in Dynasty, I wouldn't in deep Dynasty leagues, I wouldn't drop him just yet because deep Dynasty, there's always a team looking for a second catcher typically. And while he has been bad by expected stats, he's also been very unlucky. Batting average 155, expecting batting average 207, slugging 258, expected slug 355. So, not that those numbers are exactly a glowing review for what dynasty managers can look forward to from Austin Wells. There is some positive regression at least coming. It's not all bad. He does his whiff rate's not terrible. His chase rate's not terrible. The pulled air rate is still good. He can still get to some pop. It'd be great if he could, like I said before, hit anything other than a fastball. He's batting 093 on breaking balls this year. That is atrocious. But yeah, very disappointing starts for Hoppe and Logan Wells. It just shows how quickly things can change in Dynasty, I think, and how you really need to ride the wave of prospects and values and make sure you're constantly updating your rankings to stay ahead of things like that. Speaking of rankings, Martin and I are now going to get into our top 20 catchers. Martin, I'll turn it over to you to run through your list.
All right. So I kind of spoiled the top at the beginning of the show. So I've got Cal Raleigh at 1, Drake Baldwin at 2, Samuel Basallo at 3, Hunter Goodman at 4, Shea Bengaliers at 5, King Willie Contreras at 6, Ivan Herrera at 7, Rainier Rodriguez at 8, Carter Jensen 9, Dylan Dingler at 10. 11 through 20 is Kyle Teel, Frankie Alvarez, Will Smith, Adley Rutchman, Alfredo Duno, Alejandro Kirk, Yainer Diaz, Gabby Moreno, Ryan Jeffers, and Dalton Rushing, who everybody hates.
It's so funny that
It's
everybody hates him.
hilarious. Yeah.
It is so funny. All right, I'll start off my list there. Drake Baldwin, like I mentioned before, starts out at the top. I don't have Kyle Raleigh at 2 either. I have Shea Langoliers up at number 2. Kyle Raleigh comes in at 3. Samuel Basallo comes in at 4. Ivan Herrera at 5. William Contreras 6. Then we go Dylan Dingler at 7. Adley Rutchman comes in at 8. Hunter Goodman, who I said I'm probably too low on, but the risk scares me, in at 9. Will Smith at 10. Rainiel Rodriguez at 11. Gabby Moreno at 12. Carter Jensen 13. Alfredo Dano at 14. Ethan Salas 15. Yainer Diaz 16. Josue Briseño at 17. Kyle Teel 18. Dalton Rushing 19. And everything else felt gross, so I threw JT Realmuto a bone at number 20 there because at least he plays. I'm going to quickly run through Jacob's rankings since he was preparing to be on here as well. He also goes Drake Baldwin at the top at number 1. He's higher than both of us. I guess he does not care about Hunter Goodman's hit tool. He puts Hunter Goodman at 2, Shea Langoliers at 3, William Contreras 4, Basayo 5, Ivan Herrera 6, Cavalli all the way down at 7 for Jacob there. So that's a pretty big difference. Rainiel Rodriguez 8, Will Smith 9, Dylan Dingler 10, Carter Jensen, Gabby Moreno, Adley Rutchman at 13, Dalton Rushing at 14, Dano 15, Ethan Salas 16, Kyle Teel 17, Briseño 18, Diaz 19, Alejandro Kirk comes in at 20. Looking at these rankings, one name that kind of stuck out to me was Kyle Teel, somebody I tried to actually buy in on before the season started. I was unable to acquire him anywhere. Then he got hurt. It's been a little bit of a disappointing start. Martin, you are the high man up at 11. I like Teel. I thought 18 was a fine ranking. Jacob had him at 17. What has you so excited about Kyle Teel's dynasty potential that you think? I think 11's pretty high. So I think that could make him an interesting buy low candidate in a lot of dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I should point out too that I have Josue Briseño as a long-term first baseman. I should probably have
Okay.
him ranked as a catcher as well. So if he was ranked as a catcher, I would have him 16th, right behind Duno and right ahead of Alejandro Kirk. Just putting that out there. So with Teel, I think obviously he was hurt a lot of this year. I think what in the sample that we've seen, which is still only 300 at bats, it seems like he's been around forever. I don't know why, but just a 300 at bat sample, 261, 10 homers, 117 WRC plus. I think he's got a natural feel for the barrel. He makes above average hard contact. I think the swing decisions are pretty good as well. He's definitely had a slow start since he's come back from the injury, but I think he'll get closer and closer, and then eventually he'll lock in. And I think once he's locked in, he's an easy top 12 at the position. I think he's a guy that's going to be able to flirt with 20 home runs. I think he's going to hit for a high average. And obviously that lineup is up and coming now, and that's just going to push his counting stats even higher. So I'm really high on Teel. I guess maybe there's a little bit of the Red Sox prospect bias in there. But he's a guy that I've been really high on this whole time. So I'm really comfortable with him being at 11. I wouldn't move him down. Even if you look at the guys that are just below him, I would take him over Alvarez. I would take him over Smith. I'd take him over Rutchman. So,
are you worried at all about the lefty splits?
yeah, I mean, I guess I should be, but again, 300 at bat sample, that's not really a big enough split for me at this point. I mean, it seems like it probably should be, but it's not like it's been consistent. He's been hurt, me up along the way. So I think, I mean, obviously we talked about how fluid the rankings can be. I think he's a guy
Absolutely.
that is definitely on the radar as a guy that should be moving up and down. There's a lot of guys at the position that kind of should be fluctuated up and down. So I'll keep an eye on it, but for now I'm pretty set with where I've got Teel.
Now, I like Kyle too. I mean, there was a big discrepancy in the ranking. I think he is somebody that you could probably buy low on. I think the hit tool has been the biggest issue since coming back from injury, but I think that can be credited to more shaking off the rust than anything else because he hasn't really had major hit tool concerns before he pulls the ball well to his air side. I was a little bit hesitant to rank him higher than I did because we haven't seen it. Now I have several prospects ahead of him who also we have not seen it yet. So I guess that argument goes a little bit both ways. But I find myself siding more with you, Martin. I think he's a good buy low for dynasty managers, especially in two catcher leagues. I don't know if he'll ever be a top 10 guy. So in a single catcher dynasty format, I'm not sure you really need to go out of your way to acquire him. But in two catcher formats, I think he is somebody that could be fairly cheap and be a really strong asset for you down the line.
I think it was important too to notice that he was performing really well in the WBC before he got hurt. So that was always a plus too. So I think again, we talked about, you just mentioned, it's a great point because when you see these prospect rankings, you see these prospects up in these dynasty rankings, it's such a fine line when you're ranking dynasty assets to consider present value, future value, and ceilings and floors and all of those good things. I mean, it's not easy. So anyone that's out there and thinking, wow, these guys should just be, ranking guys just based on how it is right now, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. So just keep that in mind because, we haven't seen Reniel Rodriguez in the majors yet. We haven't seen Alfredo Duno in the majors yet. Hell, they're only at AA. But you've got to also take into account what's coming next and how this all could play out. So it's very difficult to do these rankings.
I think that's a great point, and I think I'm speaking for both of us here. Some of those prospects ranking high. I mean, I know you have Teel a little bit higher, but ranking ahead of guys that have proven they can do it in the major leagues is not that we don't like the player that's in the major leagues, but also you have to take into account the ceiling, like you mentioned in what you were saying there. Like, I just think the ceiling is higher for some of these prospects. I don't dislike Kyle Teel. I think he's a perfect guy in a two catcher format to go get. But then some of these prospects, like, I think you could be a top 10 guy. I think you'd be a top 8 guy. I think you could lead the position one day for dynasty and for fantasy. And so I think that's something that's like Martin was saying, it's really important to consider.
Yeah, and you have to factor in age and injury history too. I mean, if we're talking about just straight up talent, you'd have a guy like Jordan Lawler probably inside your top 50, right? But because he's so injury prone, I mean, I've got him like around the 200 range. I need to see more. I need to see him stay healthy and things like that. So all of those are huge factors in what we're trying to do here. So
absolutely. So another player that we had a pretty big discrepancy on was Adley Rutchman. I have him up at 8, Martin at 14, Jacob had him at 13. And I think this is more the inverse to my Hunter Goodman argument is the kind of player mold I tend to target a little bit more. It's why I think I have Drake Baldwin up at the top. It's just that relative safety. I mean, Adley Rutchman is, injuries aside, feels so safe when you look at that hit tool, when you look at the fact that he's going to play every day. I'm not worried about him being super streaky. I know he's been a little bit streaky in the past, but in a sense, especially in on base formats, he's going to walk, he's going to hit for average. Like, the contact skills are so good. And I like some of his underlying numbers. Like, no, he's never going to be a 35 home run bat, but I know I'm going to get some pop. He gets to his pull side well. I just find myself gravitating toward that kind of player more. Maybe that's a preference, but I wasn't ready to move him out of my top 10 yet.
no, and that's fair. And in complete transparency, I've got Teel and Rutchman 4 spots apart at the position and 22 spots apart in the overall. So they're both top 180 for me. And a 22 spot gap in a 400 player rankings is not that big of a deal. I think for me, I basically, I mean, I almost consider them kind of like the same player in a sense. They've both got that hit tool. I think Teel's hit tool is better than it's shown since he's been back, obviously, but I like the hit tool for both of them. I think they both have, mid-teens home run power. Obviously, I have in my notes here, I'd give Adley a bump in OBP because of the walk rates and stuff like that. So it's not that I'm anti-Adley for any, by any means. It's really close between the two of those guys. I think it's just a a matter of how we value him. And maybe I'm still a little bit biased based on how bad he was last year, how
Yeah.
at least at the start, it was quite bad. And the other part too is I do have a little uncertainty about what's going to happen with Rutchman. I feel like he's going to be okay, but they've not committed to him long term like they have Basallo, and that's a point of emphasis too, because what is his long term value? Is he going to stick at the position? I think he should. He's a good defender. He's at one point was a top pick and things like that. So I think it's all in all inclusive of all of it. But I think he's a good player, and he's probably a guy that is still going to be in that 10 to 15 range for me in the long term. I don't think he's ever going to get back into the top 10 like he was before. So, and I had him at one point as high as like 3 in Dynasty rankings. So I think a lot of people did.
Because the breakout never really happened. It was like the floor was really safe, and it almost makes me think of Roch. Like, you talk about that safe floor, and you're expecting that next step from a college bat where maybe he is who he is. I'm a little bit confused. I've been confused as to why his BABIP hovers as low as it does. He hits a lot of line drives. It's not like he makes a ton of weak contact there. So I do think he's been a little bit unlucky this season. I think fantasy managers can expect a little bit of a better batting average. I mean, we've seen the BABIP as high as 303 back in 2023. I think he's more of a 290 BABIP guy than the 266 that he's at right now. But yeah, I don't know. I probably have Adley too high, but I don't know. It's just the kind of player I gravitate toward a little bit. I Will Smith a little bit higher, I think, than both of you guys. I think they're very similar, even though Will Smith could be approaching a little bit more of an age age cliff there. But a player who is back to the streakiness, back to the high volatility in Francisco Alvarez is next up on our discrepancy list. Martin, you have him up at 12. Me and Jacob, neither one of us had Francisco Alvarez ranked. Is that just my Mets bias, anti-Mets bias showing there? Or like, what am I missing that has you so excited about Francisco Alvarez?
No, I don't think it's a bias at all. I think it's the Jordan Lawler talk, right? Injuries. Injuries hurt my argument from the get-go. That's the first thing that I put. Injuries hurt my argument because he's never been healthy, and he just continues to find ways to get injured. And it always seems to be his hands too, which is always interesting. But at the same time, when he's healthy, the power is just so tantalizing. We're talking about a 30 homer bat. Consistently double digit barrel rates, the hard hit rates, and the EVs are all good. He's got these weird splits where he's just hammers right-handed pitching, but he can't hit lefties, which is just super odd. It's like the Dominguez effect. And the other thing too is like he's still only 24, which I think is easy to forget because he's been around for a long time. I think he debuted at 21 or 20, and so it's just been around forever. It seems like, and he just can't stay healthy. But I think for me, having Alvarez at high is more of the upside play we talked about with ceiling over floor, because the floor could be bad as well, but he's at least hitting for a decent average when he's healthy, and he hits for a lot of power, has a potential to hit for some power. So I think if he can ever just put together a full season, I think he'll return value as a top 12 player at the position, but there's a lot of what ifs there too. So
that's exactly where I'm at. It's a lot of what ifs. I feel like it's what if he stays healthy? What if he can hit enough? I mean, last year he got sent to AAA for a period of time. He is so far from a polished player. Like, his hit tool is bad. The power is good, but it's not like Hunter Goodman good in a sense where like I feel like it could be a carrying tool. His defense is also bad. I don't necessarily think he sticks at the position. And then if your defense is bad and your bat is streaky, that's how you find yourself on the bench, I feel like. And at this point, it feels like the Mets have kind of switched from they're going to prioritize winning now. And now it's like, okay, what the heck even are the Mets? Like, you might as well let the kids play and see what you have. So I think that buys Alvarez a little bit more runway there. But I feel like there are too many what ifs, even more what ifs than Hunter Goodman, and I'm averse to Hunter Goodman. So I think you're right though. It goes back to that. What do you value? How do you value the position? What do you target? and I can't get myself to buy in on Francisco Alvarez at all.
No, it's fair.
Martin, any other thoughts on the rankings? Anybody else stick out to you? Anybody you were hoping to bring up during this segment?
I don't think so. I think I'm probably still a little too low on Ethan Salas. I know you guys both have him inside your top 20. I've got him at 22, which is fine. It's not like it's that far off. I believe in the player. I think that his turnaround this year has been really impressive. We talked about him a couple times. Obviously, he gives himself a clear path to playing time because of his defensive abilities. The bat's cooled off a little bit. He's still hitting for good average, but I think if he can maintain what he's done throughout the rest of the season, and I think he could get a cup of coffee maybe late in the year because I don't think the Padres are actually any good, and I think they are. So I'd like to see him in the major league level, even if he's still super young. But he's a guy that will easily be a top 20 guy by the end of the season. I'm sure of it. So.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't realize how good Carter Jensen's been on the season because it's been so streaky for him.
He's so streaky. Yep.
Yeah, but he's still only 23, so I think Dynasty managers should be really excited about the Royals catcher of the future. All right, we're going to shift gears to prospects now, like we have been doing for each episode. We're going to end with a couple of prospects at the position that are catching our eye. Martin, who do you got?
Yeah, so my first guy is Caden Bodine, and Bodine was a guy that was acquired from Tampa or from Baltimore, sorry, in the Shane Baz trade, which that trade has just continued to wreak havoc on the Rays. I don't know, or on the Orioles. I don't know what they were thinking, but this is a guy with elite plate discipline and contact skills, even back to college. I mean, he's always walked more than he struck out. His contact rates are absurd. He's at 89.8% overall, 94.4 in zone. He's got more doubles than he's got strikeouts, 21-20 this year and 302 at bats. And the crazy thing is, he's not even like he's passive, like another guy I'm going to talk about here in a second. He's swinging 54% of the time, and he's still making contact at that level. I found an interesting stat when I was looking through it. I found a tweet that said in 2025, among NCAA players, he was the only player with an average EV over 90 miles an hour, hard hit rate over 45%, and an in-zone contact rate over 95%. So I think that the plate skills are just so good with Bodine. I guess the biggest question now is what type of power he's going to get to. I think he had a max EV in college at like 106. I think that's what it was in spring training as well. So that's not overly impressive, but the average EVs look pretty solid so far. And we know that he's got the ability to get to that pull A rate. It's at 21% so far in low A, and it was 17% since he's gone to double A. So he's a guy I really like a lot, and I'm valuing pretty high. The other guy is Luke Stevenson with the Mariners. I really like the bat in college. He's kind of like the opposite of Bodine. He's just so passive. He only swings like 34% of the time. And his strikeout rate is almost 28%, but it's really skewed by the called strikes. We've talked about this before. These guys get so passive at the plate. And at some point, you want to see some more aggression because I think the power is good. I think he's got 60 grade raw power. I think he's got a pretty good hit tool as well. He's a guy that I think could be a 25 homer bat down the road, but he's got to unlock some aggression a little bit and kind of find his way. But he's a good player.
No, both of those guys are really good prospects. I like both of them, especially Bodine's been really good for the Rays. No surprise there. We should have known that he would reach his potential with the Rays.
Yeah, they got a luxury of riches too, because Flewelling's a hell of a player too.
Yeah, watched him go yard in the Futures game. That was fun to see there. Two prospects that I have my eye on: Easton Carmichael from the Pirates. He was the team's third-round pick this past year out of Oklahoma University. I don't think he really caught many eyes. And then I think he hit a home run. I think I wrote up his home run from the spring breakout game. I'm pretty sure he hit a home run during the spring breakout game this year. That was the first time I had heard of him. I dug in a little bit. The power really ticked up in his final year at OU. He hit 17 home runs after hitting only 7 and 6 the 2 years before that. For catching prospects, I feel like it always takes their bat a little bit of time to adjust and catch up with the stress of learning how to play defense. I think you saw that in college, even though his numbers were so good. It took the power a little bit of time. I've been really impressed. It's a simple approach, a little leg kick. The bat speed looks good. The exit velocities, from what I've read, have been encouraging. I don't have any exit velocity data on him, but I think he's really a player that's come into his own there. Good smooth swing path. He can be a little bit aggressive, but the contact skills are strong. So Easton Carmichael is a deeply prospect that I think dynasty managers should keep their eye on. And then Ramon Ramirez for the Kansas City Royals. We just talked about Carter Jensen a little bit. Ramirez is underrated to Blake Mitchell's overrated. I feel like Ramon Ramirez is a really good prospect.
I agree.
76.9% contact rate, slugging 507. The home run rates are good. Getting to his pull side is good. He just does all the little things well. Is he a 300 hitter? Probably not. He's got a 358 BABIP right now in high A. I'd love to see the Royals give him a chance in double A soon, even though he just turned 21. I think Ramon Ramirez has a lot of upside and a lot of polish too that dynasty managers should be excited about.
Yep, I agree. I've got him quite a bit higher than Mitchell in my rankings. So
Yeah, me too. Ramirez is a top 150 prospect for me. Blake Mitchell is not at this point.
yeah,
So
getting
yeah.
close with that. I'm just pulling up right now where I've got Ramirez.
Yeah.
I've got him at 157, so I'm good with that. And I've got Mitchell just outside the top 200. So Mitchell's he's like the three true outcomes. I mean, his walk rate's absurd. It's like 30%. So it's crazy, but he's freakishly athletic, but he hasn't put it together yet. And their organization's got a luxury of riches at catcher because they've also got, Carter Jensen now, and it's just super deep.
Yeah, no, I mean, not a bad problem to have, but yeah, I like Ramon Ramirez in the next couple of years to really break out. All right. I think that's going to do it for episode 9 of Destination Dynasty. As always, thanks for listening and have a good rest of your day.